What if the reason you feel lost is because you were never living for yourself? I had built a life that looked exactly right. Good job, stable routine, people who approved of my choices. And I was miserable in a way I could not explain to anyone because from the outside there was nothing to be miserable about. I was 27 and I had spent the better part of a decade making decisions based on what made sense to everyone else. The degree my father respected. The career path that sounded impressive at family dinners. The city I stayed in because leaving would have required explaining myself to people I did not want to disappoint. I had never once stopped to ask what I actually wanted. Not seriously, not in a way where I waited long enough for an honest answer to surface. I told myself I was just responsible, mature, practical, but then something happened that made all of that very hard to keep believing. A colleague named Priya, who was 30, handed in her resignation one afternoon to go do something that most people in the office quietly thought was risky and impractical. And instead of feeling relief that I was not her, I felt something sharp and unexpected. Something that felt uncomfortably close to envy, not of her specific choice, but of the fact that she had made one. A real one that belonged entirely to her. What happened next surprised me. I went home that evening and sat with the question I had been avoiding for years. If nobody was watching and nobody had an opinion, what would I actually choose for my own life? The answer came slowly, but it came, and it was different from the life I was living in almost every way that mattered. I did not change everything overnight, but I started making smaller choices that belonged to me, and for the first time in a long time, I stopped feeling lost. Because lost is what happens when you spend years following the map someone else drew for your life.